Subaru BRZ owner? Well, I invite you to come with me on my adventure of making my BRZ funner, faster, and maybe a little track-worthy as well. This is the BRZ Files.
Micheal Ferrara from Dsport magazine, and I'm standing in front of a Subaru BRZ. Chances have it you've seen plenty of these Subaru BRZs and Scion FRSs on the road. One of the most popular cars out there right now to do upgrades to, and we're going to be working with L.A.Sleeve in building this vehicle and addressing basically all the systems on it, not just an engine upgrade and forced induction, but we'll be doing the braking system and suspension. So it'll undergo a complete transformation, going from 170 wheel horsepower vehicle to probably 500 to 600 wheel horsepower range. Upgraded brakes and suspension, so handling will be improved. It'll be quite the fun car at the end of the day when we finish the process. For those of you unfamiliar with this car, let me go over some of the basics of it. So the BRZ is the Subaru version of this. It's also the Scion FRS, and now the new models will be the Toyota 86. So 3 different names for basically the same vehicle. Front engine, rear wheel drive, and that's one of the reasons that it makes it kind of fun. You know, you can get the car a little bit loose and stuff like that when you track it or drive it on the street aggressively. So it makes it a little bit more fun than just having a front wheel drive vehicle that just burns the tires and doesn't go anywhere. So that's one aspect of it that makes it pretty fun to drive. It's also relatively lightweight. You're looking at about 2,800 pounds, 2,900 pounds, somewhere in that range. Horsepower-wise, of course, every car could use more horsepower, but one of the complaints about this vehicle is that people wish it had more. It's 200 horsepower at the flywheel. You're probably looking at about 170 horsepower in that range at the rear wheels. So it's not gonna, it's not gonna basically go out there and start annihilating Corvettes on the street in stock form, but it will get out of the way of a Prius. So that's kind of the relative scale there of the performance level on it. Some of the other aspects of it that make it so popular is parts availability. You can find just about anything you want, good or bad, for this platform. There's all kinds of parts from body kits, aero, engine, forced induction, seats. I mean, every aspect of the vehicle. There's even some things that you can do on this vehicle that would normally require a lot of customization and stuff like that, but there's just bolt-on, off-the-shelf solutions for a lot of it. So if you're out there and you're looking at doing a platform, the Subaru BRZ, Scion FRS, Toyota 86 is a great one to start with, and we look forward to having you follow along with the L.A.Sleeve Dsport magazine build as we take this car. And once again, I say we're going to transform this from being your basic grocery getter to having something that's a lot more fun. To properly support 500 to 600 horsepower on a FRS or BRZ platform, you're going to need to address a number of different systems, from the engine, the driveline, and the cooling system. As we mentioned before, we're starting with a Club Dsport reference series FA20 engine that's been bored out to 89 millimeters thanks to the set of LE sleeves in here. It also has a 90 millimeter stroke to it, so it comes out about 2.25 liters. Power handling, it can handle 600-700 horsepower without a problem. One of the things we did differently on this is there's a lot of popular positive displacement supercharger and turbocharger systems out there. We wanted to go a little bit different and do a centrifugal. The folks at Vortex supply the supercharger for us. This will have the potential to basically support just about 650 horsepower at the wheels. It'll be spinning at about 50,000 RPM, making anywhere from 20 to 25 pounds of boost is probably where it's going to end up. And as far as the performance characteristics of a centrifugal versus a positive displacement or a turbo, this is much more linear in the power gains. So the higher that we rev the engine, the more boost that's going to be made. So it'll make boost proportionately with RPM, engine speed. So it's going to give us a little bit different power curve than you might have seen out there with a positive displacement supercharger or a turbocharger. It'll basically trade off a little bit on the low end and mid-range, but it'll make up for it on the top end. And it's actually one of the easier systems and power curves on the engine as far as cylinder pressures. So it's going to be a bit unique, something we wanted to try different, and we're excited to see how that's going to work out for us. Now, unfortunately, Vortec, they offer the supercharger aspect of it, but they don't have an intercooler system that just bolts on that's going to support that level of horsepower. Fortunately, the folks at Full Race supplied the intercooler for us here. This is the same intercooler we use on our turbocharged FRS project that we have out there. And also on the cooling side, you see we've got a Mishimoto radiator and oil cooler that we've added to the mix. Anytime you're making additional horsepower, you've got a lot of wasted heat you got to reject. So those two items are going to help us do that. And as far as getting this power through the driveline, some of the areas we need to address, the drive shaft and the axles, and Drive Shaft Shop has supplied the products there that are going to help us handle the new power and actually take out some unnecessary weight in the driveline. And this will actually put a few extra ponies to the ground by using that. Now, talk a little bit about sleeving and the FA20 engine. Essentially, it's an 86 millimeter bore engine, and as you see here, like many of today's four-cylinder engines, it's a cast aluminum block with a cast-in cast iron liner. And as you see here, that liner thickness is very thin. It's probably about maybe about 30 thousandths of an inch or so, and that runs throughout the entire length of the cylinder. And when you sleeve an engine, you have the ability to do two things. One is, when you sleeve the engine, you can potentially make the bore size larger. Larger bore size, we can get more displacement out of it. You can also make the cylinder walls themselves thicker, and thicker cylinder walls can support more horsepower. So you've got two things you can do by sleeving the engine. This design here from L.A.Sleeve, this is what they call a amphibious sleeve. You've heard of dry sleeves and wet sleeves, and this does a little bit of both. It actually will fit into the block with an interference fit that'll keep it where it needs to be, and that's what keeps it rigid in there. And this portion up here, though, will be exposed right to the coolant jacket. A traditional dry sleeve would be just like this, where the sleeve only goes right into the aluminum. But on this, we're going to actually remove the aluminum that's around this top portion of the sleeve. And that does a few things. For one, it lets us put more of the iron material in place of the aluminum, and iron having a lot higher strength than the aluminum. And why make it thick at the top? Well, the top of the cylinder is where you're going to have your highest combustion pressure. So keeping it thick and strong here is going to pay off in the long run. Now, what we've got going on here is we've already done one side of this boxer engine, and we wanted to walk you through the steps in doing the other side of the boxer engine. And you notice the engine's been turned over, and let me see if I can just move it here a little bit. Well, I'll leave it where it is. Anyways, the engine's been turned over 180 degrees. We've done everything on the other side, and the first operation is we're going to make sure that the height, the deck height from the center of the engine to the top here matches the other side. So that'll be the first operation, and Magnus is going to come in and do that for us right now. Head resurfacing tool, and it'll come across and cut this so that the distance, like I said again, from the center of the engine to the top of this deck on the right bank of the engine will be the same as the one on the left bank. Is actually going to check the condition of the surface finish. Are you ready? And what it's doing is dragging, almost like dragging a fingernail across a surface, and you can feel how rough it is, and that's what it's actually registering here. And it'll give us a couple different values. The real generic value is called RA, the average value of all the roughness. And we'll just cite that one for now, and a future tech will tell you what all the different ones mean. But RA of 9.28, which is very good. It's a very smooth surface.
On the next BRZ Diaries, we take a look at some of the other products that are going on the BRZ, and we finally get to start running some numbers on the dyno.